When I walk across the stage as a college graduate, it's going to be an amazing feeling knowing my life story and how dark it was. Can't nobody tell me God isn't real. And I thank everyone for the love y'all send me and wanting to see me overcome, even though you don't know me. But I'm happy and thankful I'm able to show the world the real me that I hid for many years. I was never a thug, a gangster, gangbanger, nor a fighter. None of it. I was a shy, very nerdy, kind, and loving kid who allowed the world to turn me into someone I wasn't. This is truly me, Nashawn Clay.
Good afternoon and welcome to Let's Talk Live with Martin U, the live podcast bringing much needed community conversations to the table. Let's Talk Live with Martin U is an exciting, reverent, and educational podcast that digs deep into the current topics, community involvement, and stories of our alumni success that only Martin University can deliver. I am Montia King, and joining me today is community advocate Tiffany Cowan for our Women's History Month segment. And thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Really grateful and honored to be here.
Yes. So I want to get right into it and with you introducing who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I have worked with many organizations as well as worked on a lot of campaigns in the city of Indianapolis. Currently, I serve as the finance director for Indiana Young Democrats and also the fundraiser chair for the Marion County Young Democrats. Outside of that, I'm currently working on getting my master's in business at the Kelley School of Business.
No, that's right. You mentioned your role within political campaigns, and I know a lot of people may have some misconceptions on what that looks like, especially if people of color, and how your involvement is impactful to the community that looks like us. So I want us to get into that and how did you get started? Did you go to school for that? Is that something that created like a passion? How are you able to join these campaigns?
Yeah. So one, I think that we all have a say being in Indianapolis. It's not just, oh, maybe your family was in politics, maybe your neighbor was in politics. This is our city. So we all have a seat. We all have a voice here.
Mm-hmm.
My entry into politics was, I've always been really interested in history. And I thought at one point that I wanted to be like a political science major, etc. That's not the route I took. However, I ended up being a volunteer at first. So I first just volunteered, was kind of an intern, and that kind of had me just entered my way into meeting the folks I needed to meet, meeting the organizations, and just kind of showing up. So really, I think, anyone who's interested in politics, going to community events. I remember just the first year I met Mayor Hogsett and was just like, oh my gosh, this is so easy to meet these people because they're out here in our community that I think we think like they're disconnected, but they're not. It's not, super difficult to kind of get connected and then just kind of find out what is your lane. For me, mine is voter registration, voter engagement, and really getting out the vote on election day, just organizing people and really trying to increase voter turnout here in Indianapolis.
Nice. And how long have you done this for?
Since 2019, so not too long, fairly new. And that's what I say, I haven't done this for a really long time, but I've been able to just show up for people, organize people, really uplift voices in our community and to get to where I am now.
I like that. Have you had any type of internships or any other experience outside of just the campaigns and volunteering?
Yeah, so outside of the internship I did on organizing campaigning, I actually interned for the Indiana Senate Democratic Caucus. So that is a great way. If you're like, maybe I'm not the person that's grassroots organizing. Maybe I'm not, a the word I'm looking for? Maybe I'm not like the person that's outside really like protesting, and that's not really my thing.
Mhm.
There's also the advocacy, and that really takes place in the state house. And so that was a good opportunity for me to just learn the legislative process as a whole.
Mhm.
How does laws happen in this state? How
Mhm.
become laws? What are the different, stakeholders that are really making this happen? So I was able to see how a bill became a law and really understand the key players that are involved with that.
Were you able to make a lot of connections throughout that, even though you may not be an intern and doing that now? Like, how does that impact your current role and what you do as far as campaigns?
Yeah, so regardless, the thing is with the state house and in our community, these are representatives, senators, that are in Marion County.
Mhm.
So building those relationships, being able to have them advocate for, the organizations I'm involved in really helps when, we have an event and we want people to come out and to show up. We can build those relationships that we have with state senators and state reps to come sponsor those,
Mhm.
to really advocate. And at the end of the day, that's why I love being in the Young Democrats. So to be a young Democrat, it's 18 to 35. And so really being able to push the benchmark of young people, because we are the future leaders, and having these, folks who most of the time aren't young Democrats, but really being champions
Mhm.
for us and for
Mhm.
issues that matter to us. I think it's always great just having that, collaboration with them.
I like that. What's a common misconception you feel people have about those that are within your age area within politics? What's like a misconception you think that they believe that goes on, especially here in the state of Indiana?
I'll tell you a big one. I think people think like if you're involved in this work that you've had to like major in like political science, right? Or history,
Mhm.
one of these like majors. And I will say a lot of the people that are doing this work, they're in different industries. So that's, to me, it's amazing to see us build this infrastructure of having someone, maybe at the city, but having someone, maybe working for Citizens Energy, or,
Mhm.
working in banking, or just all these different industries that are still advocating for certain issues within their roles, and how we can still push that into letting people know there's a place for you, whatever that is, like whatever that issue is that's important to you. You still have a voice, and we still want to hear from that. And I think really just trying to build this overall great ecosystem of young people is just, it's like amazing to see, amazing to be a part of, and just being connected to all these people in different industries.
How can someone, if they're watching, join and be a part? I know you said you just became a volunteer, but what did it take for you to be a volunteer? Who did you contact, or what kind of loops did you have to go through to become that? Because I know it wasn't just like, hey, I wanna help real quick for this voting
Yeah,
registration. I know that there's some actual things that you have to do.
be a voter. That's one.
Mhm.
It's going to be really difficult whether you want to help on a campaign or whether you want to run for office one day for city council, etc., and you don't vote. That is something that's like automatic. You got to vote.
Mhm.
I would say that too. You can follow Marion County Young Democrats on Instagram. You can follow Indiana Young Democrats on Instagram. Also, check out the website. Both those names are also listed there: IndianaYoungDemocrats.com,
Mhm.
MarionCountyYoungDemocrats.com. Being involved, subscribing to our emails is a great way to just know like what events we have, and then just collaborate, just coming up, talking to us. I'm pretty much, I'll talk to anybody. You can follow me LinkedIn, Instagram, etc. I will always get people plugged in wherever I know that they could be a good fit. But yeah, I think just showing up to events is a really big part. It takes more than just like commenting on a picture, commenting on, this post or etc. about your views. It has to be more than that. You have to show up, because that's how you're going to be taken seriously, and then know that you are, wanting to be involved. they're always looking for volunteers. They're always looking for new ways to engage voters. You know, especially in this state, in this county,
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you that in Indiana, this past election, November 2022, only 34% of registered voters showed up at the polls. So that just kind of gives you an insight of, you know, how important this work is, and how important, you know, we really do need people to show up at the polls, because that's your power.
Yeah.
You know, holding these elected officials accountable.
So you're saying votes do matter for people that aren't watching, or they have their thoughts and ideas that their vote doesn't count. You're saying it does count because only 34% of people came out. That is a crazy stat.
It is, and it's. I wish I was making it up. Like, it's legit, and you know, to think, well, of course your vote doesn't matter when only 34% who are probably have different priorities than you. Then of course nothing's going to change, because they're going to protect the status quo, and they're looking out for the best interests for them, and most of the time that's not for people that, you know, look like me and you.
That is crazy. I'm still stuck on the 34%. That was like for the state of Indiana, or like the county?
The whole state.
Well, how'd the county do? Do you know that? How did Marion County do? Did we do?
Not much better, unfortunately. And you know, Marion County being the largest county, you would love to see that number be over 50, but it's not. So, you know, I think people just think, again, like, my vote doesn't matter, or they see, you know, they have to understand, when you say like, oh, the same person, you know, gerrymandering is a real thing. So what they do is they will purposely, you know, put a group of a population in a district that they know is heavily probably a certain party. They know that. And so, you know, they know that person's going to always win. And then you get into that unfortunately, the habit of not working so hard at times, because you already know you already know as an elected official, I'm not going to have an opponent, and I know my constituents are going to always vote for me because of where the population is. That's a big issue. And then we know gerrymandering as a whole, just cutting districts that are literally, like, if you see Indiana's districts, it's astonishing, because it literally will cut a neighborhood in half. It will dip and dive. I mean, it's truly astonishing how they rig elections in their favor. And of course, people aren't going to migrate to the rural areas. You know, that's not a thing. I don't know if people are going to the country, but people are coming to the city. So you have these ideas, and that's why, you know, Marion County is a safe, you know, we're the most populous. We have the most businesses in the state. And so it's very much a purposeful thing overall in the whole state to see Indianapolis and have it compacted, while the rest of the state is kind of dispersed out. And that's deliberate, you know, for the state house.
You mentioned having social media platforms for the Democratic Party, and how does that impact the voters, especially the youth? What does that look like, and how does like your analytics, like, how do you know what to target and who to target using social media?
I'm not in the comms team, so not really too sure how they do that. But I know one thing is they make sure to get out our events. Like, that's number one. You know, the big thing with trying to do targeted social media strategies is, you know, a lot of times those cost. And that's why, you know, it's so important, like, for us, like, we are getting those memberships, we are getting those donations, because I think people don't realize it does cost money to be able to sometimes do these initiatives. Holding an event, you know, it's hard to find a space to do an event. And, you know, businesses usually don't want to, they can't be in kind. It's really hard to get it in kind. Usually they cost, because if they're holding an event, you know, they're going to have to shut down for the rest of the population there. But, you know, these things kind of cost money, being able to target certain groups. one thing that I know, just for the party as a whole and just kind of the direction that we want to push in is digital marketing, for sure. Social media, digital. Like I was telling a candidate, they had asked me, they're like, hey, when I run, do you think you can, help organize my campaign? And I was just like, listen, I have some some constraints, okay? Like if you want me, I have to be able to run a digital campaign. No longer are people looking at things like those mailers you get in the mail. Like we see those, okay, those are cute. But if you think about it, even people 50 and up are on social media. So why aren't we using Facebook? Why aren't we using TikTok? Why aren't we using Instagram? Because that same money that you're using for that yard sign, that mailer, snail mail, it's not really, you're not connecting to more people, even canvassing door to door. Personally, I told him, I said, take all that money that you would pay doing kind of that personal touch and do just social media digital strategies, because you can still make that personal touch in a targeted ad campaign that's still personal, because you're not just promoting it, on the radio, on TV, where it's hitting a mass amount of people, but you're actually having a targeted a group of people that are going to be able to see your campaign, and have that exposure. That is a better investment than yard signs and mailers.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of people getting out of their comfort zones too. And if something's been working for so many years, they just aren't really willing to switch it up because nobody has put forth the effort to say, hey, let's try and do something different and do something new. As a community advocate, what is some of your goals that you have for 2023?
Yeah, I think really being able to connect to more schools, high school seniors, that's like something I'm really trying to pinpoint, really trying to get young people involved now. I saw a statistic that said it takes usually 5 times a person votes, and it doesn't have to be consecutively before they become regular voters. So they have to vote 5 separate times before they're considered regular. So between that, if they vote 3, they might fall off. They vote 2, they might not vote for another couple years. Like usually 5, you become regular. So really trying to target young people in schools. And I think another thing is I really want to bring and bridge ideas together. One thing that I see is we have just a super polarized political environment that it's like if you don't believe 10 out of 10, you can't sit with us. And I don't like that. I don't like that. That's not me. That's not how I was raised. I don't, that energy I think is more negative than positive. And so for me, I really want to be able to be a voice to say, hey, it's okay if we disagree on issues out of 10, but we agree on the 8 issues. So let's focus on what we do agree on and how we can come together. Then, even when I think internally into party politics, that the internal conflicts, I'm like, that's just a distraction. Like I have no fight in that at all, because no one wins when the family feuds. Okay.
Right.
And so for me, I really, really want to focus on saying, hey, it's okay if we disagree on these 1 or 2 issues, but we agree on all of these. And let's talk about all the issues we do agree on, so we can really actually get things done and push the agendas that actually matter, which are economic agendas. That's what really matters. For young people, we have a problem with housing. We have a problem with good paying jobs, just trying to secure those. We've seen that these companies are laying people off. Facebook just announced another 11,000 people they laid off. Salesforce laying people off. So Google. So you have, people who are probably, I'm going to assume a lot of those people are not the people that they're about to retire, but they're people that are within the 25-40 range that they're laying off. Because then guess what? You have a longer time to retirement that I would have to pay you until you retire. The older people,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'll keep them on payroll for the next 4 years. That's fine. I'd rather keep you on payroll for 4 years than somebody else for 15, 20. So I think really talking about, oh, and also student loans, right? Like those
Mm.
are the issues that are going to matter to us. And I think less so much as the social issues, I think can be really distracting into the economic issues that are facing us every day that really matter to us as young
Right.
people.
Wow. Whew, you preaching. Okay. So another question I have as far as voting, I know I still struggle with it a lot, and I'll call my grandma my boopy. And I'll be like, I don't know who to vote for, when
Yeah,
I'm going, because it's a bunch of names. It's not just Andre Carson or Mayor Hogsett that we're seeing anymore. It's different names, and it's not just the major elections. So they do want us to go to the primary elections or, elections that happen in May compared to just in November to show that
absolutely.
consecutiveness. But we don't know who to vote for. So what would
Mhm.
you say to people that aren't sure about going to vote because they don't know who to vote for? Like, how do they do their research? Because it's so much that people could look up, but then we really don't even know who's on that ballot until we go in there, and then we just stare at it like, well, I don't know who to vote for. So how do people do their research, or how
Yeah.
is it
So
easy
one
way?
good resource, indygov.org, you can look up your voter registration, and there's a feature that says who's on my ballot, and you put in your zip code and it will tell you all the people that are on there. And I love that. Primaries is May 2nd, save the date. But no, it really is important though, I think too, and it is difficult. And for me, it's like maybe you don't know these people personally. Like because I'm involved in this work, I know these people. So I'm like, no, I know who to vote for because I know them and I
Mm-hmm.
know what's important to them. But outside of that, I think really just being able to say, okay, what is their platform and being able to see who is on my ballot. And there's going to be so many resources on their website, on their, Instagram pages. And then they are always holding events. If they're your state senator and they're in your district, by golly, they're going to have a fundraiser. They're going to have an event in your district. Show up.
Mm-hmm.
Show up and ask them. They want to talk to constituents, right? Because they're like, these are the people I represent. And I think it's great. And I've always seen positive. Sometimes it's like, you'll get those randoms that are coming in and
Mm-hmm.
they're just like mad at other things that like they don't have no control over. Like sometimes you get those folks that are like they're talking about federal issues, and like the war in
Mm-hmm.
Ukraine. And I'm like, person, I promise your state senator has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with what's going on in Ukraine. Okay. You know what I mean? So some of these things, there is like some nuance there because it's like what it does matter to me. And I'll tell you, we kind of joke around that like potholes are not a Democrat or Republican issue.
Right.
Public safety is not a Democrat or Republican issue. And so those are the things that I think looking at like what are their plans onto those everyday to day matters, those should be the people that you're supporting. Sometimes it's hard because I think that again, and this is where I'm really passionate about, is sometimes we focus so much on the social issues that are like, they're important. They are important and I do care. They're just not my top 5.
Right.
And so those folks, I would probably say, have a conversation, see what their plans are. That are going to be things that more matter to you. But I think, it's just what is important to you and seeing what their messaging is and what their plan is. But you can absolutely go to indygov.org and choose who's on my ballot, put your address in, and it will tell you from the congressman, right? The Congress, the House of Representatives election to city council to judge. All the good things to even superintendent at times, right? If you live in the townships and you're not in center township, those are going to be on your ballot as well.
Nice. That is a lot of information that I think we all needed to hear. So I thank you. And how can somebody contact you if they're interested in volunteering or just need more insight on the political value that Indianapolis has, especially the youth, often somebody reach out to you and chop it up, kick bits, all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can follow me on LinkedIn. One, it's my name, Tiffany Cowan. Always so ready to connect with everyone there. Also, my email, you can email me directly. It is TAKEO7WN7 @gmail.com, excuse me. So you can also email me. And then, yeah, just follow, like I said, Marion County Young Democrats on Instagram, Indiana Young Democrats on Instagram. We're always trying to find, new people and new ideas to come and do this work. Because one thing is, like, when people are moving on, we don't want to always restart, right? Like, that's always the hard part, is like, you have a good group and then they move on, which is natural, right? Or they age out. That happens. We have people who are no longer Young Democrats, right? And so they age out, and we don't want to keep just restarting the bench. And so we're always looking for people to continue this work that we do, continue building that infrastructure. So please get in contact with me if you're interested, and I would love to connect.
Alrighty, well, I thank you, and that looks like all the time we have today. So I thank you so much for joining us on Let's Talk Live with Martin Yu. Again, y'all, this is Miss Tiffany Cowan. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, your expertise, all good things, and make sure you guys get out there, register to vote if you have not registered yet, and get out there.
The deadline's April 30th to register.
April 30th.
So yes, get out there.
Y'all have plenty of time, but not a lot. Just plenty of time to get what y'all need to get done. And thank you for just sharing it with Martin University's community. And I appreciate it so much. I look forward to hearing great things about what you do and what the organization is going to do for the youth. And I'm your guest host, Aunt Tia King, and I'll see you same place, same time next week right here on Let's Talk Live with Martin Yu.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
When I walk across the stage as a college graduate, it's going to be an amazing feeling knowing my life story and how dark it was. Can't nobody tell me God isn't real. And I thank everyone for the love y'all send me and wanting to see me overcome, even though you don't know me. But I'm happy and thankful I'm able to show the world the real me that I hid for many years. I was never a thug, a gangster, gangbanger, nor a fighter. None of it. I was a shy, very nerdy, kind, and loving kid who allowed the world to turn me into someone I wasn't. This is truly me, Nashawn Clay.